A free woman. It's been a while since I've seen a woman who wasn't a slave. I forget myself. Are you injured? What do you want to know? We're property. If you're too young or too old, the men usually leave you alone. Usually. You ought to be careful yourself. I overheard some of the legionaries talking about trying you out. 3 years and counting. If I could just get across the river, I'd be free. Not that I'd try it. I've seen what happens when you get caught. A small town in New Mexico. The Legion burned it a few years back. That's how I ended up here.
They're organized, I'll give them that. The few times I've encountered them firsthand, I've been impressed with their discipline. I've heard they don't allow women in their military, considering them nothing more than breeding stock. Their men, however, are typically quite large, in phenomenal condition, and prefer close-quarter weapons. Recent engagements have taught us to fear their shock attacks, so it's a blessing that we seem to have superior firearms. I've never once seen a single one of them back down or disobey an order. They'll happily charge a fortified position with little more than a sharpened stick if ordered to, and do so without hesitation. Their standard kit seems to be a blade of some sort and light armor. Guns are not uncommon, but are of questionable condition. While they prefer to use their blades, it's common for them to scavenge better weapons from their enemies and use those. The men have been told to toss their weapons over the side of the dam if they receive a fatal wound, but I doubt many will remember. Yes, extremely so. They must use conditioning routines on par with the Rangers or better. Their soldiers can run near half again as fast as my best men, and close distances with frightening speed. And they're as strong as they are fast. Their superior physicality makes them extremely dangerous up close, so I've had the men run drills for taking on larger, stronger opponents. But they've all been instructed to take them down at range if possible. I've made it clear I don't want any heroes in my squad, just survivors.
What do you want from me, woman? I'm in charge of the arena, not the cooking pots. No, imbecile, that's not how it works. I set up the fights, then you go in the arena and fight. Know your place, woman. Unlike the profligates of the NCR, only men fight in the Legion. Women are beneath notice, as Caesar has taught us. I'm only allowing you to speak to me because you are Caesar's guest. I may yet, if Caesar commands it.
A free woman. It's been a while since I've seen a woman who wasn't a slave. I forget myself. Are you injured? What do you want to know? We're property. If you're too young or too old, the men usually leave you alone. Usually. You ought to be careful yourself. I overheard some of the legionaries talking about trying you out. 3 years and counting. If I could just get across the river, I'd be free. Not that I'd try it. I've seen what happens when you get caught. A small town in New Mexico. The Legion burned it a few years back. That's how I ended up here.
It'll frighten them. If I can reach out and kill whomever I choose, then they know the only reason they're alive is I haven't tried yet.
Well, well, well. If it isn't our favorite courier, Trekker of the Wastes, killer of Mr. House. I was just finishing up making an example of this town, teaching a lesson, if you will. When you move on, teach everyone you meet the lessons Caesar's Legion taught here. especially any NCR troops you run across. Where to begin? That they are weak and we are strong? This much was known already. But the depth of their moral sickness, their dissolution, Nipton serves as the perfect object lesson. Nipton was a wicked place, debased and corrupt. It served all comers, so long as they paid. Profligate troops, powder gangers, men of the Legion, such as myself. The people here didn't care. It was a town of whores. For a pittance, the town agreed to lead those it had sheltered into a trap. Only when I sprang it did they realize they were caught inside it too. Yes, and herded them to the center of town. I told them their sins, the foremost being disloyalty. I told them that when legionaries are disloyal, some are punished, the others made to watch. And I announced the lottery. Each clutched his ticket, hoping it would set him free. Each did nothing, even when loved ones were dragged away to be killed. It has a stark beauty, doesn't it? I'm glad you can appreciate it. Now go, and teach them what you learned here. There will be more lessons in the days ahead.
You've come back to see the chief. Nice of you to humor the radio tender. What can I do for you? The best of the best, worst of the worst. He came out of NCR, one of the followers of the apocalypse. Like a lot of the followers, he went out in the wilderness with a partner to try to help those who needed helping. Not much different from how the Rangers used to be, except with books and medicine instead of guns. Out to the Grand Canyon. He met a missionary from Utah, a man by the name of Joshua Graham. Graham helped translate for the followers and the tribes. All three of them got nabbed by the Blackfoots down there, back when they were still at war with every other tribe in the Southwest. Somewhere along the way, he realized he needed to educate the Blackfoots or they were going to get wiped out with the rest of the tribe. Showed them how to use guns, how to make explosives. Once he taught the Blackfoots a thing or two, they needed him. And he no longer needed the followers, NCR, or anyone else. He decided he could remake the tribes of the Southwest whether they wanted it or not. He became Caesar, and Joshua Graham became his legate, his right hand. And that's where Graham stayed until Hoover Dam. Losing the dam was the worst defeat the Legion ever suffered. Graham had been with Caesar since the beginning, but he had to set an example. The Praetorians covered Graham in pitch, lit him on fire, and down into the Grand Canyon he went. It's not that clear-cut. You have to understand Graham was the toughest son of a gun anyone around these parts had ever seen. Before Hoover, we had 5 kill reports on Graham from Rangers and 1st Recon sharpshooters who tried to take him out. Some folks think he's still alive. Call him the Burned Man. Yes and no. The Blackfoots don't exist anymore, just like any other tribe that gets swallowed by the Legion. Caesar takes the tribal out of the tribe. Scrapes and burns off tattoos, breaks up families, forces mixed breeding so all the old loyalties die away. The only tribe in the Legion is the Legion. Caesar is their chief, father, and God, all rolled into one. Shoot. Shoot. Word is that the Legion's old-timers have shown up. Caesar's veterans from the Red Oaky Centuria and what was the Painted Rock tribe. They're the best of the best and the baddest of the bad. Short of a centurion or praetorian, they don't come any tougher. You come across a pack of them, weigh your options carefully. Take a regular legionary and age him 10 years. Whatever they lose to age, they make up for with experience. Life expectancy isn't long in the Legion. You live 10 years in Caesar's army, you're a force to be reckoned with. There's no real equivalent to them in the NCR. Centurions are battle-born elite officers who earn their rank with blood and sweat. They wear special outfits, too, pieced together from the armor of all their defeated enemies. Good commanders, tough opponents. Caesar's elite guard. They travel with him wherever he goes. A bit of insurance in case any of his guests get funny ideas. They aren't the toughest legionaries, but they're the most devoted to Caesar. They believe in everything the Legion stands for. Shoot. I could tell you a lot if you had the time, but at my age, I'm not sure which of us would get tired first. What do you want to know? Suppose it depends on what you think's good. Most folks want to hear about Hoover Dam and Boulder City, but it's a long story. If you want some tall tales about hunting down slavers or busting up gangs, talk to one of the younger rangers. In big battles, Caesar deploys his legionaries in waves. Recruits up front, prime soldiers behind the recruits, old guard bringing up the rear. Opponents wear themselves out dealing with the first two waves, if they survive that long. When the veterans step up, there's not much fight left. Caesar can adapt, though, and when required, he can run any mix of legionaries as skirmishers and still retain order in the ranks. Joshua Graham, Caesar's old legate, he wasn't so flexible. When the Legion attacked Hoover Dam, General Oliver ordered his troopers back to the middle ground just after first contact. Graham pushed all of the legionaries onto the dam, filling the east side with recruits up front and veterans in the back, by the book. But once they were in, they were stuck there. Oliver's troopers were entrenched and wouldn't give a foot. That's when we ordered the Rangers and the 1st Recon sharpshooters to start picking off veteran Legion officers from a high ridge west of the dam. That only lasted about a minute before Graham ordered the back ranks to push through to the front and rush the ridge. Caused total chaos among the younger legionaries. Oliver's troopers fell back to the side walkways and stayed out of the veterans' way. By the time the veterans got to the ridge, we were already in Boulder City. They followed us down there, but we were out before they realized what was happening. We'd packed the old city with C4 and dynamite. Crude, but it did the job. Those who didn't die in the blast were in no position to mount a defense. The ones left on the dam didn't know what to do. The troopers routed them. Graham pulled the remaining legionaries back, but the battle was over. He went south, back to the Grand Canyon, back to Caesar. And that was the last we saw or heard from Joshua Graham. Shoot.
Keeping watch on the river and looking for anyone trying to cross it. The Legion likes to send infiltration teams over on rafts. Just the usual. Legion scouts try to slip across the river a couple of times a week, but they always end up floating downriver with holes in their heads.
We were on patrol near the dam.
when a Legion raiding party jumped us. Didn't even have time to radio it in. I was hit in the head with a machete and knocked out. Didn't kill me, though some nights I wish it had. When I woke up, my nerve was gone. The rest of my squad was crucified, butchered, mutilated. I don't know how they missed me. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they knew they'd broken me. I gambled and drank a lot after that, got into trouble, but the Rangers gave me a second chance instead of kicking me out. So here I am.
No, I didn't. You might hear that kind of nonsense from a drunk trooper on the strip, but not from me. The Legion doesn't have super mutants.
It's never going to end, this fight with Caesar. People back home don't know what these young men and women are in for. The Legion is the worst enemy we've ever faced. But we can't stop Caesar here. Not without getting a lot of good people killed. More than anyone cares to count up. But even if we do stop him, I don't see how we're ever going to be able to pull out. Not too long ago, they took Nelson and Searchlight. They got some camps on the eastern shore of the Colorado, and the monstrosity on the hill across the lake, that's for Caesar. Some folks don't believe he's here yet, but you can tell. He's the eye of the storm. It all roils and spins around him. You don't have to see the man to see the effect he has. Nelson was barely set up. We had a big stretch of unprotected land between Forlorn Hope and Searchlight, and Nelson was the solution. A deaconess named Dead Sea took the place and caused a lot of damage. Searchlight was worse. One of Caesar's Frumentari must have found something in there, flooded the whole camp with radiation. Legion fires. They burn high wherever the Legion goes. Caesar's a hard man to figure out, but he always wants you to know when more troops are at your front door. Shoot.
It's a tradition in the Praetorians to specialize in unarmed combat, because weapons can break or jam when needed most. However, our unarmed techniques favor offense over defense. We can charge the enemy and flatten him with our first strike before he can react. I've watched you move, and I can tell you simply don't have the skill to learn the technique. I'll answer if I can. When I was a boy, the Legion conquered my tribe. I was chosen for training as a legionary. I fought in many battles for the Legion. Eventually, Caesar chose me to lead his Praetorian Guard. It was a great honor. The girls and women were enslaved, and many of the men and boys were also chosen to become legionaries. The rest were killed. We were savages. The Legion raised us up, made us better than what we were. What did you want to talk about? The NCR Rangers are the biggest threat. Without them, the NCR is nothing. Caesar has taught us that over-reliance on firearms can only weaken us in the long run. It's why we train heavily with our blades and our fists. Unlike an NCR trooper, a legionary is always ready to fight, regardless of the circumstance he finds himself in. We had the numbers, but not the tactics. I know. I was there at Boulder City when we were defeated. We relied too much on veteran legionaries for direction and leadership, and the Rangers exploited our weakness by killing our best from afar. And just about every one of them is occupied. Not all at the same time, usually. Groups of legionaries come and go all the time. This is also only one camp of many. You might have noticed the other camps down by the river.
Outsiders are a rare sight at the fort. Step carefully around here and you might just leave alive. I'm Anthony, Master of the Hounds. Yeah? We breed them mostly, but sometimes we get some good ones from Denver. That whole city is overrun with them. Been doing it since I was a boy. The mongrels know to listen up when I start talking to them. Yeah. I've been around dogs all my life. They're my life. Always were, all the way back when I was a tribal. One of the hangdogs outside Denver. Dogs roamed that city. Our tribe made peace with them, thought they were our spirit animals. Helped us hunt, provided for us in some lean times. Then the Legion came. Good thing, too. Stronger now. Don't need those beliefs anymore. When the Legion showed up, we fought. Most tribes did. Hangdogs hung out longer than most. Broke us by throwing our dogs on the fire. So we gave up. Our elders couldn't bear the idea of our spirit animals burning in the afterlife. Caesar was impressed enough to conscript us, use our skills with dogs to join the Legion as hound masters. Lupa, yes, she's the mother of a lot of our best dogs. She's getting old, but she's still a tough old bitch, aren't you, girl? Yeah.
He's the best the Legion has to offer, or so the legionaries say. Brute of a man, wears a fancy metal mask in a battle. He killed one of my pack Brahmins simply because it was in his way. I knew better than to complain about it, though. Shoot. Not at all. They're my best customers. As long as you don't try to sell them chems or alcohol, they treat you fair. Hell, I don't even need to travel with guards most of the time in Legion territory. All the bandits are dead or run off.
Caesar would never admit this openly, but he knows that I'm alive. I've killed enough of his frumentarii and assassins that have come looking. I've heard one of them travels the Mojave as a courier. Most of Caesar's agents meet a fitting end in NCR territory, but maybe this one survived.
Alcohol and all chems, including stims and other addictive items. I know not why Caesar would wish to speak with such a physically inferior whelp, but I will allow this one exception. You may bear Caesar's mark, but do not attempt to share any of your medicine with anyone in the fort. Caesar strictly forbids the use of chems and alcohol. By his order, all visitors must also relinquish their arms upon entry. If you come in peace, then there is no reason to not disarm. You will not be harmed unless Caesar wills it. Your belongings will be returned to you.
I never finished my training. The Legion saw to that when they overran my town. I do know basic first aid, but I've had to rely on tribal remedies to treat illnesses and injuries, healing powders and all that. I'm always running low on Xanderroot. Plenty of rock flowers, though. I'd rather not go experimenting. Some of these wasteland plants are toxic. What do you want to know? All right. A vengeful spirit, some of the more superstitious women claim. He was a great leader of the Legion before he failed Caesar. The story says he was set on fire and thrown into the Grand Canyon, but his angry spirit rose from the ashes of his corpse, looking for revenge. Nonsense, probably, but there's no doubt that many in the Legion believe he's still alive somehow.
Such as? Most of the time, it's some young legionary trying to make a name for himself, hoping to get noticed by Caesar or the Praetorians. We pit slaves or prisoners against each other once in a while, but it's not much of a show. They're usually too reluctant to kill each other. I set up the fights, keep track of prisoners available, and make sure the arena's cleaned up. Light armor and machetes only. The challenger, the one who asks to enter the arena, may be pitted against one or more opponents. All matches continue until one side is dead. No exceptions. Ask someone else, woman.